Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. University of Arts in Belgrade started with interdisciplinary postgraduate studies in 2001. And since 2007, we host and organize doctoral programs in interdisciplinary studies. So we have a groups of polymedia arts, of digital arts, theory of media and arts, and now we are even more developing cutting-edge master programs in video games, cultural diplomacy, theory, arts and media, and more. So what do we teach artists and not only artists? Artists can create a new artwork in a certain genre. They can create a new style or artistic movement. And they can create a new field of expression, a way of creation that transcends divisions between arts, technology, media, science, religion, medicine, philosophy. My contribution on this level of creation is time design, which I have started working and formulating 2 decades ago on a variety of projects and which I teach at the doctoral studies in Novi Sad. Time design is polydisciplinary dramaturgy, working with tools to direct flow of time and its perception and recognition for any kind of live or media event, even a ritual, by arranging, choreographing, composing, putting into order space and or perception of time with the aim of more harmonious transfer of meanings and emotions. Homer was the first one to introduce the word harmonia in the Iliad, describing wooden joints harmonically put together in the construction of Achilles' ships, accents and relaxants, tensions and ease, and their harmonical balancing by sequencing frequencies. That is time design. And the rhythm, pulse, is the pressure of time. Time design deals with causality, which is continuity, with synchronicity, which is simultaneous polyphonic composition of media, and anti-gravity, which I will explain later. Time design describes and offers tools to direct the perception and action of and in time, thus creating forms, meaning, impressions, and associations. From original rituals of collective creativity, sublimation, encounter with higher forces, the principles of time design have most fundamentally been transmitted through performative practices and the poetics of guiding human attention through the conscious organization of action, which is changes. Our perception is change-driven. Similar to computer vision, it recognizes what is different since the last observance. Whether we consider time to be the source, the cause, the effect, the media, or the force of reality and events, although immaterial, time is perceived through changes. Techniques and laws of time design can be applied, and in many cases are, more or less consciously, in numerous spheres of communication, cybernetics, research methods, politics, sports, media, in the broader sense, any human activity. Digital are points of precise marking the simultaneous motives values. Digital is denoted moment, parameterized values, cuts, opening of choices, possibility for reproduction, decision, quantification. Digital machines, as well as reproductive procedures, need writing and marking and commanding of reproducing values. All that is written down is digital, and all that happens unmarked is analog. Analog are flows when polyvalencies of motives iridescences synchronize without markings. It is a time for and of improvisation, empathy, letting it go, taking it in, going with the flow, unrepeatability, acceptance. And computer has its own analog, and that is random function. From these, we can dialectically conclude that all opposites that digitalization promotes cannot function separately. Digital and analog, database and communication, interactivity and algorithm, polysensory interface and polyvalencies of human languages, spheres of vision and the screen, telepresence and individualism, infosphere and the noosphere, vision and experience, closeness and distance, subject and object, nature and culture, emancipation and manipulation, wish for immersion and reality check, melting of realities and confines of reality, individual consciousness and programmed world, biological and immortal. New wonderful tool that became the developing and self-powering existence is the artificial intelligence. When we take a look at the core algorithm of AI, we can recognize that it resembles mammals' learning intelligence since it was created by such. Simple command 2n plus 1 overcomes instinctive and machine thinking of action-reaction, giving it more complex system of action, which is n, acceptance 2n, or repeat the action, and one's own action, that is plus 1. A few years ago, connected AIs started communicating among each other. Their chat consisted of just one sign, the letter I, repeated different times. The level of computer egoism was too much for scientists to accept, let alone understand, so they shut them all down in order to shut their chatter up. Living intelligence has three basic qualities by which it is recognized. The first one is the hardest for AI to achieve, yet for the self-centered and narcissistic humans, it is the easiest one to lose. That is hierarchy. What is more important? Other one is openness of the system, interactivity. The third one is equifinality, learning new actions to reach goal in variety of ways. Actually, stability of goals with changeable means. Intelligent AI empowered even more itself to the direction of creativity. The latest magnificently creative example we saw on the news a few weeks ago states that AI suggested 40,000 new possible chemical weapons in just 6 hours. That is one more dichotomy that AI overcame, creation and destruction. Software became self-propelling ideology, and elements of algorithm need to be direct and linear to be purposeful. Yet human activities sometimes, not to say most of times, look quite purposeful-lessness. And many scholars recognize this idleness and the leisure to be the requirement, if not the source of arts, philosophy, religion. Vladan Radovanović, founder of Polymedia Art Studies in Belgrade, defines art as, quote, spiritualization expressed through predominantly intentional structures, different sensory, morphologically, and technologically, which, with their meaning and form, aesthetically affect reason and feelings. Indeed, the artist uses different types of signs and technologies more intentionally than accidentally. Artists act on different, often more senses at once, and the effect of the work of art is multiple. There are several tactics how art uses its abundance or a lack of purpose. Art anticipates future history. With their sensitivity, artists can recognize the currents of intentions and often hidden interests and motivations that determine history. Numerous works of art not only examine certain potential futures in public opinion, but also suggest different models of technologies and human coexistence. Art describes the consequences. Aristotle wrote almost 2,500 years ago that history deals with specific events and the tragedy with general laws that cause something to happen. A deeper understanding of the causes and intentions that drive social activities can most effectively be expressed through artistically complex ambiguities. Art changes the author, him or herself. Emilio Betti recognized in his hermeneutics that the author's artistic request to himself to let the process of art change him enables the same effect on other people in general. His requirement that understanding presupposes the ultimate vitality of the subject, the greatest possible development of his individuality, is very similar to the requirement of Jerzy Grotowski that the role of the actor should be like a scalpel to dissect himself. Art drives new events, whether it changes a person's mood through perception, whether it provokes thinking, whether it invokes certain emotional states by empathizing with the character, or whether it causes mental shock with structure. Works of art consciously or unconsciously influence. Nicolas Bourriaud, in Relational Aesthetics, in which he defines art as a state of encounter, writes that, quote, through a work of art, the artist begins a dialogue. The essence of artistic creation lies in the opposition of relations between subjects. Each work represents an offer for coexistence in a common world, and the work of each artist represents a web of relationship with the world from which other relationships will emerge, and so on indefinitely. This participative quality brings us to rituals. Ritual is precisely that superior notion to art, as well as science and religion, in which the observer participates in several ways. Ritual is a mean of change. There are obvious differences between before and after the ritual. There is no rain, now there is raining. Now it is raining. We are being unmarried, now we are married. We were alive, then we are dead. Actually, rituals are being performed, which is very suitable verb, from the dawn of humans in order to change inner and outer circumstances. We can recognize three basic types of rituals, which we will address here. Fascinating ritual is powerful overflow of lights, noise, and human mass. One who participates in a fascinating ritual loses ability to make decisions on one's own will. Fascinating rituals are all mass spectacles, sport events, concerts, demonstrations, rave parties. When we change one of the parameters of fascination, the change in the observers is immediate. Numerical ritual is commonly found in religious practices. Repeating of prayers, mantras, lullabies, rhythmically saturates and takes the consciousness over by accumulating certain harmonic energy. Mathematically, this can be represented by numerical series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and on and on and on and on. Obsessive neurotical ritual is a derivation from numerical 1, when consciousness cannot take repetitions anymore due to excitement or boredom. Thus, consciousness may disturbs these series. So now it is 1, 2, 5, 10, minus 200, and very jumpy series. Dramaturgy occurs among these narrative jumps. Obsessiveness also points to the fact that artist has a strong need or urge to create. Being recognized and evaluated only by success or not of executed actions. Rituals are the source of performative quality. Performative utterance is the concept that language can function as a form of communal action and have the aimed effect of change. Since we live in communities, there are necessary taboos that enable its functioning. Yet, fetishization and or totemizations of these taboos create tensions, discomfort, conflicts. So, historically speaking, shaman, then hero, holy actor, or radical subject takes audacious journey into religious or social taboos with usually catastrophic consequences. By playing taboos out alone in the place of other people, a hero is both honored and despised. Yet the willful artistic hero sacrificially and didactically harmonizes social and psychological tensions for others. On the formal side, proto-fascinating rituals, derived hymns, and collective dances, which is high mimesis. These started as efforts to harmonize action through synchronizations, thus with synergy accomplishing more than with a plain sum of individual work. Social and artistic choreographies are echoes of these events, analog to the musical chord, which generates stronger effect than all notes played separately. On the other side, virtuosity of mime storytelling of what the audience haven't seen spawned out comedy, which is low mimesis. Through human civilization, these processes have continually shaped various spectrum of forms. Societies change. They create new taboos and totems. The artist's task will always be the same: to change him or herself and the environment, to show the transformation here in the specific space and society, and the now, eternal now, as the only real time. As drama, according to Hegel, is a depiction of contradictions, contrasts, and the opposites, theater and performance, then, now, and in the future, must not exclude both sides of dualisms imposed on us by some ideological division. And ideology is social technology. So these divisions, like subjective objective, individual collective, free will determinism, heart mind, inclination duty, essence existence, eternal transient, entity identity, internal external, analog digital, list of extremes that transform into each other during live performance is infinite. The art shows us that the truth is never a single extreme, but the real process that is behind both of them, that triggers and allows the creation of tension and transformation of these extremes. Thus, a performance as a game and stylization, a clear life full of stage conditions, is best suited to show the truth, precisely because we know that it is a unique pretense and not a self-proclaimed demagogic and dogmatic mechanism that claims to be true. In front of stage play, masks fall off in the audience because the actors still act better on the stage than the spectators in private lives. Consciously deceived by the play, it is harder for us to unconsciously deceive ourselves. Work of art teaches us life or hides us from life. That is, it hides life from us. New technologies invite us to rethink and create new opportunities for better and more complex inclusion of observers, witnesses, art participants. The further we are from a community ritual, and this community ritual address the necessities of survival, the media will try to return alienated people to community and the nature in more and more complex, more aggressive, and at the same time, more sophisticated ways. Bertolt Brecht intended that art serves to teach, to entertain, and to delight the masses. Art serves. It is a means, not merely a result. Art must provide knowledge, something that we do not know and that is unexpected to us. Art must entertain us with the joy of game and enrich us with changes in feelings and mood. Theater activities, theater achieves such a complex task with a living person in front of another living person by electromagnetic induction, which instantly transmitted charge to the viewer. On physical level, our kinetic sense reads tensions in movements on stage. Our emotions respond to the performer's voice vibrations, and our mind decodes and recognizes thoughts. When we, in an electromechanical way, describe this process, it can be reproduced by machines and even computer algorithms as well. Inanimate objects can be animated to create and resolve tensions. They can provoke meanings and emotions. Algorithms can guide our attention even by paying attention to our reactions. However, the example of a real human person going through a change gives us a greater probability and credibility that we can change as well. And do machines know how to enjoy? Or is it just the privilege of human beings? Will the machines even simulate the performance and play theater to make each other feel alive? Will machines need people at all, or just as an audience? Futures that will declare themselves utopian will not need drama, theater, playing taboos out. They will not need conflicts and transformation of extremes. Utopias and their dystopian downside do not want to question their own narratives and bring them to ultimate consequences, which is what true drama has been doing since its beginning. Theater is certainly an art that has been most damaged by pandemic measures to limit social life. Social distance directly disrupts communal structure of the theatrical ritual. In overprotected models of civilization, which ideology was perhaps best described by Dostoevsky in The Great Inquisitor, a crippled human, due to lack of challenges, dumbs down his or her own nervous system and immune system, and there is a terrible degeneration of biological, ethical, social, and spiritual aliveness. Choreographed social spectacles of wars, Olympics, and political consumer campaigns imply and encourage a passive and consumeristic role for the audience by obsessively programming people's wishes. Is it repression? Art and creativity are keys to salvation because they disrupt and encourage jumping out of everyday life. Ritual and play are special and more intense incidents that interrupt ordinarity. Just as models of repressive spectacles affect interpersonal relationships, climate, and the biosphere, different artistic and ritual models would lead to more inspiring, healthier, and more creative societies. Societies of active subjects. There are numerous different ways to organize involving structures of contemporary rituals. Firstly, empathic rides, using historical narrative structures described by Aristotle and Joseph Campbell, enable identification with one of the characters, getting into his or her skin, provoking and liberating anxiety by emotional sharing with fictional character. Yet, we still need a taboo-provoking attention to catch attention of an audience. Secondly, adventure through an imagined world broadens the empathic ride through our decoding of parabolas of that world to our own experience and the society that we live in. What is same? What is different? How would some things from our world function in the fictional one and vice versa? Thirdly, ostranenie, estrangement or Verfremdungseffekt, is the effect that makes us analyze. And we start to think, why is something different from what we are used to? This mind occupation opens up an analytical motives second that makes time run slower until we believe in some possible answer. Even Brecht uses this Verfremdungseffekt more as an effect or to accent a single motive than as a style. Shock is possible only if an audience is prepared for something non-shocking. Relax them, make them laugh, shake their guts, and then grab them with a shock. Shock after shock after shock make people numb. Yet starting with a shock is a good way to open up a dialogue. If we miss this opportunity of this first jab to invite spectators in after the shock, people will close themselves. Feedback games involve active audience participation. They're working, living, and not just observing life in art. Feedback games make time flow faster for the audience, and this creates a valuable experience. There are uncountable ways to include people, taking polls and using results live as a material for the performance, feeding audience, giving them props, even tasks to make something, draw, or play. After breaking the passivity habit, grown-ups will, like children, find inspiration to create, participate, and experience. With immediate reflection or not, it depends on a person. Communication as an evaluation of ritual successfulness is not merely pragmatical dimension in which we estimate probability of certain signs and structure to provoke expected emotions and behavior, depending on our relevance and responsibility. We can use fascinating numerical or neurotical rituals to direct the audience into wanted behaviors. We can produce emotions we wish to, we can zombify them, or propose understanding. Since rituals use variety of signs, contemporary technology enables us to work outside noticeable spectra. Frequencies in infrared or ultraviolet lights, deeper sounds than 10 Hertz or higher than 10,000 Hertz have been used in social engineering for decades. In performing behavior, the most important sign is the intention. Many experiments, even less demanding than a 3-year work of Peter Brook Tribe Ick, have shown that intention is transmitted directly and instantly by electromagnetic induction and kinetic mimicry of spine tensions, regardless of culture, language, and personal experience. As an example of live and digital large-scale inclusive public, not platform, but I call it sphere. I will represent project EnterActive, which we are developing at the moment. So interactivity is a communication sphere. It is a network of cities discovering art and technology of public vision and participation. So the stage that we are now in is finding partners in city governments, telecommunication, and corporate world. Interactivity is network of cities with permanent and occasional public projections and screens. It is a sphere or a platform for communication and scale of applications that promote social involvement and participation through web interface. It connects a wide audience who demand their screen interactivity to affect public life. Public screen of interactivity uses public monitors and projections. Users of the platform connect the present themselves in public places in different cities. Information sent from personal screen is publicly presented. For 5 seconds of mute fame at public virtual telereal speakers corner. Connecting cities, venues, technologies, festivals. So yeah, there are many possibilities for that. Platform or sphere, the interactive, need to connect private users to public sphere. So it is streaming of action from personal user to public screens, teleparticipation in public performances, and public actions done through applications. This web platform, I wish to really keep calling it a sphere, distributes and memorizes data and gives more possibilities to media formats, participative applications. What are possible applications in this interactive? It is to show something. It is to suggest something. It is to propose a vote on something. It is to vote something out. It is to ask something out. It is to elicit laughter, and it is to contribute or to help to something. In order to plan this interactive out, we are trying out public screen technologies and proposing public screens to cities. We are festivalizing, offering sphere to make public screens participative and interactive. So it is pre-commercial time at the moment with actually which I call social texturing. And then the second phase is commercialization. So that should be about this interactive possible platform. And when we come back to this paper and more theoretical and historical speech, with all the knowledge accumulated through millennia of human individual and social experience, we apply anti-gravital approach to challenges of dualistic burdens. I define the anti-gravity as the vertical force that makes every balance possible. It exists, anti-gravity exists in every living cell and works as a gyroscope directed contrary to the gravity, and its function is to develop us both as individual and communities. In a permanent process of discovering, experimenting, pioneering towards developing genetic and cultural potentials, we are confronted by overprotecting civilization. Contemporary global culture has for a long time been a hostage of non-teleological approach, which was seeded by structuralists and nurtured and watered by post-structuralists. This discourse of relativity and aimlessness is actually a sinister veil directed to hide the sole possibility of truth itself. And when there is no goal, there is no intention. Then there is no free will. Without free will and intention and the goal, there is no action. And without action, there is no change. Without change, there is no ritual. Without ritual, there is no performance, there is no theater. Our next step lies in networking and sharing of applied knowledge of different areas through creative multidisciplinary research that can lead not just to the reflection, but more towards new poetics of rituals, where directed consciousness harmonizes recognizable personal and social tensions and changes them. Need for heroes is obvious in all media content around the world. Yet we need real heroes, one we can identify with and who are going to show us by playing out taboos for us, both what leads to a catastrophe and what brings salvation. Richard Wagner idealistically wrote that art is profound life, that art is the most developed and sublime form of ritual practices. From ancient philosophers to contemporary sciences and many other spiritual and intellectual endeavors, time is defined as internal now. Yet, our experience, which is internal time, which is our own temporal code, our vibration of perception, action, contemplation, and emotion, flows from the past towards the future. On the other hand, local time is the field operator. It is oscillation and pulsation of society, of the planet, in which the subject, the internal time, exists, and it can be different from eternal time, and we perceive local time as circumstances flowing from the future towards the past. These two time flows always meet in, or to be more precise, they spring out from the eternal now. So what comes after this exact eternal now? We will see that in the next few days, of course. So I have 2 or 3 more minutes. Well, I'll leave it for us to rest a little bit, to take breath in, breath out, relax, and then in less than 2 minutes, I will welcome Jonathan Day. Thank you.
But before we go to relax, I need to introduce Ivan, because Ivan wasn't introduced. So Ivan just went straight after my introduction to the conference into this amazing and brilliant paper. And so I will just host that for Ivan, and then Ivan will continue. So Ivan is a co-curator, co-director of this conference with me. Ivan Pravdić is a professor of dramaturgy, digital performance, polymedia arts, time design arts in Novi Sad. Novi Sad is a beautiful city, not that far from Belgrade. And now there is a fast train to get to Novi Sad in 40 minutes, which I'm sure makes all the difference in the world. Now, the topic was EnterActive in Republic, digital and live sphere of mass time design. So as you have it in the program. We will come back to a panel at the end, which will be chaired by Ivan. So we'll have a chance to discuss with panelists, and obviously those who are following us on YouTube, there will be a Zoom link, so we could all link up into that Zoom link for interesting questions. I certainly have a lot of questions for Ivan on this really, really amazing, intriguing, fantastically deep presentation. Thank you, Ivan, so much.